Good morning. I wanted to talk to you this morning a little bit about something that it's kind of important. It's I just came in from I was weed eating outside. It takes me about 2 hours to do that. It takes a good while to do it, and of course I got cleaned up first, and come in here, and I decided to get on here and talk to you live. And it's something I haven't done for a while, and I just wanted to talk to you about something. I went out this morning, and when I did, I it looked like it was going to rain. I mowed my yard yesterday. I need to weed eat today, and weed eating takes me about it pretty well takes about 2 hours, and it's kind of a slow process. It takes a bit to do, and when I went out, it didn't look much like I was going to get done. I got 2 hours of weed eating, and it was hot, it was humid, it was pretty miserable outside, which is one of the reasons I went out, started out just a little bit after 8 o'clock there this morning, and it took me a good while. But when I went out, it didn't look like I'd get done. And look at the skies to see everything outside. It looked like it was going to be pretty unlikely that I'd get finished without a downpour running me out. Well, I stayed after, and I did get done, and excuse me, I did get done with it, and it's something. And my dad would have been 89 years old yesterday. It would have been his birthday if he hadn't been killed in an accident. And some of you, I may have mentioned this on here before. My dad was killed in a farming accident in 2018. And my dad would have been 89 years old yesterday. And I thought of him a good bit. I'm going to tie this together. Dad talked to me one time. I remember him looking outside, and we were up at his house. And he looked outside and he said, right over there is where I would have planted those apple trees years ago, but I thought it was too old. And so I thought, well, I'll never get to eat any apples off that tree. And so I didn't plant them. And my dad told me, he said, if I planted those trees back then, I'd be pulling apples off those right now and eating them. And I thought to myself, there's some great wisdom in that, and something I've learned through what he told me, and also just by experience. I've learned that you've got more time sometimes than you think you do. Now, I'm not talking about in a spiritual sense. If you're not prepared to die and meet eternity, that's something you need to deal with, because you don't know how soon that'll be. But I'm talking about just straight in an earthly sense. Nobody knows how long they got. My mother and father are both gone now. I've already lived 2 years longer than my mom lived. And my dad, he died when he was 81. So I've got a ways to meet his age. But I've already outlived my mother by 2 years. My dad's father and mother died when they were relatively young. And my dad outlived them about twice their lifetimes. And which just goes to show you sometimes, and this is and I want to kind of tie this together. A lot of times, what's that got to do with weed eating? Well, it has a lot to do with it. The point of all this is that a lot of time you have more time than you think. Quite often, I remember back at home, we'd be out putting up hay, and the skies would look pretty dark, and it was looking pretty bad. But we already had the hay down. Maybe we even had it raked, and we were just getting ready to bale it. And a few times, it was ready, and we were raking, and boy, it didn't look like we'd get this hay in before it rained. But one thing I've learned, and through things Dad's told me, and in my own experience, sometimes you got a lot more time than you think. If you stand there looking at the skies and you spend all your time fretting over it's going to rain, it was supposed to rain today. But I wanted to go get that weed eating done, and I thought I had a good chance if I went out this morning. Plus, it wouldn't be as hot and as humid for an old guy to go out and do it. And so I went out and did it, got started on it, and I thought, if it rains, it rains. We'll see how far I can get. Well, as it turned out, I got it done. And a lot of times in a hayfield, I was raking hay, and I felt just a sprinkle or two on me, and never got any more than that. I just kept raking, and doggone, if the sun didn't pop back out later, and we got that hay up, we didn't get a bit of it wet. But I got a sprinkle or two on me while I was raking it, and I could have stopped, but the hay was ready. We had to push it. And I learned this through Dad, and I learned this through my own experience. And we've got a lot of times, it's what Dad said about the apple trees. We've got more time sometimes than we think we do. And that's true about your life. That's true about the things you're trying to do. You've got more time than you think. And quite often, if you approach life that way, and I do, a lot of times I want to get my yard mowed. It takes a while. And I think I'm not going to beat the rain. And they may be saying it's going to rain for the next 2 or 3 days. And I want to get that yard mowed before it gets really bad. Or I may want to get it mowed so it looks good on weekend or whatever. And so I just get out there. Well, I can sit there and worry about it. Or I can sit there and look at the sky, or go back in the house and then sit there an hour, and then it rains an hour later. Well, I would have been done if I had. So sometimes you've got a lot more time than you think. And a lot of times you just get out and get doing whatever it is you have to do. And this is true about work. It's true about anything. If you want to, for instance, if you want to play a musical instrument and you think you're too old, you don't know how much time you got. I've had people tell me that look, I'm a writer, and I've not made a great deal of money from my writing. I've got my 15th book coming out later this year, and I don't write for money or for fame or awards. I can't say that I never did, because I think everybody as a young writer kind of thinks he's going to write his first book and he's going to get rich and famous off it. I think a lot of people believe that. I think maybe I looked at it that way at one point, but it isn't true. Some do, but most don't. But I'm not convinced. Stephen King one time said that 95% of the writers out there don't earn enough money to support them or their families. So only about 5% of all the authors ever make enough to live on. And I kind of made a decision at that time, and I said, well, why do I got to be part of the 95? Why not me? Why can't I be the 5% that actually makes it in this business? And I haven't done it yet. Now, I have paid bills with my royalty checks. I get royalty checks quite regularly. And sometimes they're bigger and sometimes they're smaller. But I haven't, that 5%, somebody's going to be in that. And somebody's going to be in the 95% that doesn't really make any money. Well, I'm not convinced that I want to be in the 95%. I still think if I keep writing, working, putting work out there, that I never know what'll be the one that'll get all my work really noticed in a big way. And so I don't write for that reason, but it's always in the back of your mind. You can't help but think that some people are successful out there, extremely successful, and some aren't. But why in the world do you have to automatically consign yourself to that 95% that won't do it? I don't believe I want to be in that group. I want to be in the 5%. So I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep pitching at it. I'm going to keep doing the best I can. And I don't know how much time I got left. I could have a lot more time than I think, which is one thing that a point I'm trying to get across to you here. Colonel Harlan Sanders, who founded Kentucky Fried Chicken, didn't really achieve any wealth until he was past 65 years old. So that right there is proof that it can be done. And and a person can achieve great wealth or great readership of his books if he just stays at it. And he doesn't know how much time. If you throw in the towel and give up and decide you're going to be part of that 95% that never sees any money off your books and never achieves any level of success, yeah, throw yourself in that group if you want to. I don't want to. I've got no interest in being in that group. I want to achieve some success in my life. I want to see some. I want to see my books on bestseller, New York Times bestseller list, and I don't see any reason why that won't happen for me. I'm excited about. And something else I've done. I've tried to I've decided that a good while back that I was going to write in categories that I wasn't extremely comfortable in. And I was going to kind of stretch myself as an author and try to do some things that I never really planned to do. Later this year, I've got my first uh, modern day uh, contemporary Western mystery coming out. So I'm crossing genres there a little bit, and I kind of had fun. I'm going to keep writing the books from the 19th century. I love writing about that period of the Old West, but I I also wanted to try to write a modern day book, and I had an extremely lot of fun doing it. It was a ball. I just flat out enjoyed it, and it was a great fun for me to do. And I've already got probably two, maybe three more books in my head that I might continue in that series. But I it was just something, and I'm curious to see how my readers respond to it. It's different, and I'm excited about it. I'm really excited to see what the cover is going to look like. But I think I've really got something that and that's what I'm talking about expanding myself. I mean, I I've I'm not much of a poet, but I've written a little poetry. I the one thing I probably stink at more than anything else is writing short stories, and it's something I want to delve into a little bit more. I think that's one of the toughest things there is out there is writing short stories and doing it well, and it's something I don't consider a great skill of mine. But I'm trying to write in some different fields. I've even tried my hand a little bit, and I've actually been a co-writer on a song that's been published. And so I just want to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and try doing some different things. And maybe I'll achieve the 90 or the 5% instead of the 95. I'm just not convinced that I can't make the 5% that's extremely successful uh, by writing westerns and or writing anything. And I believe it's still out there. And I don't know how much time I have left. And so rather than look at the skies, it might appear that they're all against me. And hey, it's going to rain. You're not going to be successful. I just go out and pitch in and start working and work like my life depends on it, and not worry about what happens. Don't worry about whether I uh, when when I'm going to finish and when will be my last day on this earth. I keep working like I'm going to be around forever, and keep doing my work and keep pushing. I can sit there and look at the sky. I can sit there and look at my age and decide I ain't got time to do this. I'm not going to make it. Well, I'm not convinced I'm not, and nobody can tell me that I'm not going to make it in this business because I believe I'm going to be one of the ones that is. Why not me? Somebody's going to succeed at it. Why can't it be me? And that's the way I approach the world. That's the way I approach the work. And it kind of started from something Dad said about go ahead and plant the trees. And it was a lesson that each of us needs to learn. Go ahead and do the weed eating. Go ahead and mow the yard. Go ahead. Don't worry about when the rains come. You go out there and do what you can do now while you got time. And that's how I approach my writing. That's kind of how I approach my life. And it's a good way to live. Dad was right about a lot of things. And many of your fathers and uncles and grandfathers were right about a lot of things too. And sometimes we get a little too vain or arrogant to listen, and that's not a good thing because there's a lot of wisdom out there that we don't have. And you might think yourself smarter than somebody else, but I've learned over the years that everybody out there knows something you don't. So at least in one area, they're smarter than you. And I learned to listen to people. And so approach your life that way. Don't worry about the clouds. Don't watch for the rain. Do what you can while the sun's still shining. Do what you can while it's still daylight. And keep at it. And don't let anybody stop you. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. I'll catch you later. Bye now.